How much do you make as a gig worker? The pay ranges from, depending on who you ask, between 5 or even saying they pay those gigs to drive for them, or $50 or $100 an hour. Well, who do you believe, and how can you make sure that you're driving and know exactly how much you're making and that it's worth it? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Tyler from the RideShare Guy. On today's episode, we're taking a look at this New York Times article that came out specifically about gig workers and this app known as Para. Now, the issues and things that are being discussed in this article are essentially that drivers are in the market to make money. They're out there to make money. That's why I go out there. That's why you go out there. And so drivers' goal is to have as little competition as possible so that they're able to make the most amount of money as possible. So if there's less drivers out there, the same amount of requests, you're going to get more requests and in turn make more money on each app that you're on. However, as a business, Uber Eats or Uber, Lyft, Doordash, all of these, their goal is customer service. So they don't actually care that much about each individual driver making as much money as they need to, as long as there's enough drivers out there that the customer service doesn't decline. So they're okay if each driver makes $10 because they're still making the same amount of money. They don't have to pay the drivers on a per hour basis or anything like that. They simply just pay per the job, per the gig. So they're able to make the same amount of money, even though they have a lot more drivers out there. And they typically have happier customers because those customers are able to get that great customer service. They're able to get their delivery fast, which everybody likes. So in order for these companies to do that, they just kind of flood the market and get as many drivers as they can. Now, there are some that have you go on wait lists. I know for myself, I had to go on a wait list for about a year to get into driving for Grubhub. I had to wait about 6 months to get on Doordash in my area. So they do kind of limit the amount of drivers, which is great, but they don't limit it to the amount that you're able to make a great amount of money like we used to be able to do back in the day when there weren't that many drivers out there. What we recommend and what everybody seems to be doing is to use multiple apps at the same time. That's where things like Para comes in. Para actually connects to all of these multiple apps and will help you make decisions based off of the different apps and the different requests that are coming in. So rather than have multiple apps open and having to flip back and forth, especially if you're new to multi-apping or just rideshare driving in general, the Para app will allow you to connect these different apps in and will multi-app for you, essentially, turning requests off for one when you get a request for the other. It'll also help you decide which ones to take. It also gives you information such as when is a good time to drive, especially for whatever you're driving for. So these apps allow you to make extra money and increase the amount of money that you make in order to get out there. The problem is that these other apps, the actual companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, they don't want a third party signing into their app give this information out. And the reason is because if you're going to accept those rides and those requests or not accept those, it's going to take away from their customer service again. That's what they're concerned about. So if you're not taking requests, you're declining them, then someone has requested this and they're not going to get their delivery in a prompt time. It has to go to the next driver. Hopefully they don't decline. And so the company is actually losing out on the people that are going to be delivering because of that. Now, the ultimate question for us as drivers is that our problem? Our goal is to make as much money as possible in as less time as possible, to put as little wear and tear on our cars, and to be able to get home to enjoy our friends, our family, and whatever we enjoy. In order for us to do that, we have to multi-app. If you're not used to multi-apping, then an app like Para, there's a lot of others we're going to talk about in just a minute, that you're able to multi-app right from the get-go. You don't have to have a learning curve of figuring it out. This app does it for you, which is a great thing to get started multi-apping and a great way to continue and to increase your income moving forward. So is this good for drivers? Absolutely. We highly recommend that you use one of these that we're about to talk about or Para because it's going to make you make more money. Other apps like Para are Mystro, Movo, and Solo, as well as Gridwise. Now, each of these have different pros and cons. We've talked about each of them before in the past. There's articles on our site as well as videos to each of these, and we're going to link to all that as well so you can check those out. I personally have used Gridwise for many years. I use the free version I love the fact that it keeps track of my miles for me. It keeps track of how much income I've made. It doesn't help me multi-app in the way that it's going to help pick and choose different ones, like Para or Solo is going to do. But it does keep track while I'm multi-apping of all the different income. So if I'm driving in a day and I drive for Uber Eats, Instacart, DoorDash, Grubhub, and I get one or more from each of those in a day, what Gridwise is going to do is it's going to take all of that. The next day, it's going to send me how much I made per hour, how much I made per mile, and how much I saved because of the miles that I drove. So Gridwise is great. I love it. Something I've used for years. Even when I was doing a rideshare driving and Uber and Lyft full time, I used it for my area to check out the airport because it would tell me how many flights were coming in as well as how many people were coming in. So not all those people are obviously going to take a rideshare, but if I know that on a typical Wednesday, there's 500 people coming in between this hour and this hour, and on this Wednesday, I see there's going to be 2,000 people coming in, I'm going to get over there because I know there's going to be a lot more ride requests. It also, Gridwise would keep track of different local things that are going on, whether that's concerts, sporting events, and it would give you the exact times that you should be out there. So a great way to tell you and help you do your research so you're able to make as much as possible. And now another app I want to talk about for just a second, I haven't started using it myself just because I haven't been out enough in the last few months, but Solo is a great app. It actually has a guarantee amount that you can make in your area, depending on the area you're in. So my area actually has that guaranteed amount. So I'm going to try that out in the future and able to check out and see if that guaranteed amount is right. And if I make that, and if I don't, if they'll actually give me that guaranteed amount. Up to this date, the article I read just recently said that they have guaranteed over $1 million to rideshare and gig workers. So that doesn't mean they've paid that out, but they've guaranteed that amount, which means that those drivers made that amount of money. So that is an amazing feat, something you can do. Now, keep in mind, these apps do have fees to them. So Gridwise, I use the free version, but they do have a paid program. All of these ones that we've discussed do have a small fee. It's roughly about $6 to $8 per week, depending on which one you do. Or you can do a monthly plan that's going to save you money, or even an annual plan that's going to save you even more money on a per week basis. But typically you're going to make a lot more than you pay for this, especially if you pay $7 a week, but you make, it said when I went to the Solo, you can actually plug in how many hours you work, which different gigs you work for, and it'll tell you how much extra per week that you can anticipate working. I put just 12 hours to see if it was actually going to be worth it, even if you just drove 12 hours a week. And it said that I would make an additional $113 per week just using this, and it costs $7 a week. So definitely worth it if it makes that amount of money. Again, I want to try this in the near future to find out exactly how much it's going to make me in my area. One last word of caution about these. Technically, these apps, because you're plugging in your driver information, it is technically against the terms and conditions when you sign up. However, as of right now, we have not heard of anyone that's been deactivated for using these. The only people that we've talked to have been able to make a lot more money. So technically, yes, there is a risk. We don't want to leave you in the dark and make you think that there's no possible risk. There is one. However, we have not heard of anyone at this point that has been deactivated because of it. So there it is. What do you think about this article? Maybe you read it. If not, what about these apps? Do you love them? Have you used them? Are you concerned about them? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. There's new episodes that come out every single week that help you make the most amount of money that you can in the least amount of time. Until then, stay safe out there, everyone.